I wanted to leave the house by 6:30 on the dot. I left about 8 minutes late. Not that it matters to anybody but me, but I was just like, all right, out the door by 6:30. I let me down. It's Friday, and I'm going back to the horse show. I wonder sometimes if by the time I start publishing these, I will have moved forward with my life more. Hopefully I will have healed a little, but of course, there's going to be some nasty meetings and crap in between now and when I'm finally divorced. Maybe I won't be healed. Maybe I'll be... Maybe today is my high point and it's going to be downhill from here. Who's to say? I'm wondering if the process of going back and editing these videos will be helpful or will be really hard, because I'll have to day by day revisit this. And I wonder if me of the past will be embarrassing to me in the future, or just appear so weak or so broken. Will the process of me watching me and editing me for you make me sad? I mean, the process of making these has definitely changed, just in terms of how I speak, how I shoot, what I'm thinking about, when I'm setting up the camera, supplemental stuff I want to put in the videos. I'm not saying I'm making art, but I'm learning to craft things better and with more nuance every day. Improvement by doing. I feel like that was a good choice. It was fun at the barn. I liked hanging out with people. And then I got to judge the show, and that was interesting because they're like 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds, and it doesn't really matter what you say, just so long as you're nice to them and give them a little bit of feedback. So it was about posture and rein length and heels, and it was really fun. I was way less nervous this time than the last time I did it. It's just nice to feel part of the barn community. I'm grateful for that. As I pulled into the barn, I was on the phone, and I was behind just a gray Ford F-150. I'd been wondering what kind of truck he bought when he bought a new truck, and well, now I know. He bought a gray Ford F-150, just really basic. So I was on the phone, and I saw him get out of the truck and walk down the barn aisle, and man, I just don't like him. His stallions still aren't there. You know, I'm not actively disliking horses yet or expecting to see him around, but it would appear that his client has a lesson on Wednesday morning and Friday morning. Okay, now I'm aware of that. But it wasn't terribly traumatic. It was just like, oh, that dipshit guy. It's just weird to look at him and think, my wife left me for him. My wife who loved me doesn't talk to me anymore, doesn't like me because of her feelings for him. And that's the part that's messed up. I just don't get it. And you know, if when I saw him in person, there was like golden rays of light that lit him from behind, and I was like, oh my God, he is dreamy. He is a god. You know, then I might be like, well, I don't have that. But I just look at him and I think, why you? Honestly, like, why you? I don't think I'm ever gonna know that or understand that. And that sucks, because everything in my life is changing for the negative because of him, because of that bland guy in the basic gray truck. I have dealt with months and months of pain and heartache and suffering and anxiety and depression and selling my house and therapy and tears because of that person. And maybe I'm giving him too much credit. Maybe it's mostly orchestrated by the woman that I'm currently still married to. But it's a challenge to see him, and it doesn't make it make any more sense. It makes it make less sense when I'm like, oh yeah, he's like tiny. He's a tiny man. Why him? That's it. It's hot today. It's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter for the next week. I'm headed to therapy. Here's why I'm late. One, I was on the phone with people, catching them up on my situation, and they were good phone calls because I'm not a basket case today. So it was on some level a celebration of a day with some okayness. So that was good. I should have kept the phone call shorter. I realized that. I don't take my ability to go to therapy lightly. Are those excuses? Yes, absolutely. Will I apologize profusely when I get there? Yes. It's kind of weird. On the phone calls, I ended up doing more talking about her than I've done in a while. And I think today it didn't do me that good to talk about her. There's nothing new. I haven't talked to her in 2 weeks. Sometimes I think I need to have that conversation for the people I'm talking to as opposed to for me. And that's fine, if that's the sort of debt I have to pay. There's two sides to every relationship, and everybody needs something out of a conversation. If that's what the other halves of my talks have needed, that's fine. Like, I'm comfortable with that. I love therapy. I really do. It is definitely the kind of thing I wish I could do all the time, because the conversation is just so good and interesting. It's so much more than superficial. You can get down to the heart of things, how things feel and how things seem, and what's okay to feel versus not, and what's you being critical of yourself. And it's such an interesting, in-depth conversation. And the thing that makes it super appealing is it's about you, or in my case, it's about me. And it's okay, I gotta secure the tripod better. She's an unbiased person that's checking how I'm thinking about me and my situation. I don't know, I'm trying to put good words to it. It's wonderful to sit there across from her and just talk on the level that we do. Maybe sometimes I say things that don't totally make sense, but even if I go into that realm, it's not like she ever lets on that I'm saying crazy things. We just talk about that thing and make sense of it and process it, and it makes me feel so normal. So many things in this process where I feel like a freak, and I feel like I'm experiencing these novel, painful things that nobody else can understand. It's so unique to my experience, and my situation's more cruel than other people. Like, no. The thing that makes it special is just that it's my experience. What I need to remember going forward, and when I talk to people going forward, is their experience is their experience, and novel to them and special to them, and their pain is probably the most painful pain they've ever felt. And it means nothing, or it would mean nothing to them to try and make them feel better by telling them how bad my situation was. And I've learned that firsthand because, when I talk about how the situation sucks, how painful my divorce is, and then somebody goes ahead and tells me when I talk about how painful this divorce process is, and then I have somebody else tell me, like, oh, what you're going through is nothing. Let me tell you about how painful my divorce was. I respect that theirs was really painful, and I feel a little, it doesn't do me any good. My response is always like, I'm really sorry you had a painful divorce, but please don't minimize my pain because you think your pain was more. My pain is heavy and real and very significant to me. So my takeaway from this is that when I talk to people who are in pain, I need to remember and recognize that they don't at the time want to, or maybe even have the resources to empathize with what my pain was. When somebody's hurting, when somebody's in pain, treat them well, talk to them about their pain, explore their pain with them, indulge their suffering, because if you're in a better place than they are, that's what they need. They need somebody to care about them, to listen to them, to hear them, and to not compare their thing to something else. It doesn't matter. Don't minimize somebody else's experience. And I will work really hard to not do that for anybody else. Because when I've had that done to me, you're already low, and then somebody's saying like, hey, your low isn't as low as it could be, so don't be so low. And you're like, what? No. And then it makes me not feel close to that person. And if somebody's hurting and needs other people, don't do things that make them feel isolated. That would be my suggestion to you. That's how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling really grateful for her because she doesn't make me feel isolated. She makes me feel listened to and understood and cared about, and that's really important, to feel cared about right now. And then she puts in like little compliments here and there that, just like she'll talk about how I'm handling the process beautifully, or I'm putting in the work and I'm doing really well. I don't entirely even know what she means by that, but I'll take it. Like, that feels good to hear. Like, I'm doing something well. I'm putting the work into healing and I'm doing well. She thinks so and said so. If you're good, be good for others. That's what I'm going to work on going forward. I talked to my therapist how it didn't feel like I was talking about my wife anymore, but someone under my care, and how that was a strange change. It didn't feel like a partnership or companion, and it was just somebody who's troubled, who's in need of care. We talked a bit today about being like a giver and how that could be bad or good. So I was home and I started to sync. I was working on trying to put an edit together of some drone videos I shot today. I just started to sync and thought, I need to get out of the house. I need to go. So I'm gonna go to school and do some work for a little bit. You can just feel the downhill go. And I locked the windows. How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, good. What have you been...
I'm sad, you're afraid.
And it triggers that thing in me again where I feel like she's winning. Now I see his face and I think, how him? And what's wrong with me, you know? But I don't think it's that there's anything wrong with me. I think I'm alright. I'm a good dude. Starts me spiraling. Like, once you start down the rabbit hole, when I get lonely, as I am now, I miss her. Not the her of now, I guess, but the her of my relationship. You know, there would be times that I have to work at school and then I'd come home at night and she'd be there and it would be celebratory and happy. And I miss that. I miss it tonight. Going home to an empty house. There's no excitement in that. Like, I'm glad the dog's with me, but when I go home, all the lights will be off and I have to turn them on. There won't be anybody there. And, you know, you have to make your own space and that's fine. You know, I guess that's life. I miss having someone, you know? I would be totally willing to try a new someone. Going home to a different person and seeing what that feels like. I was doing some reading tonight on a website I've frequented a lot about particular neurological problems. And it's so funny the things they list as red flags in relationships, because things that sound like red flags are also the things that make falling in love with someone so intoxicating. It was like, oh, the person always has like stories to tell and the person is playful and you have more fun with someone than you've ever had before. And I'm like, yes, I had that. And it was wonderful. Like, we had so much fun together. And I still don't entirely understand why that's a red flag. But a lot of this stuff was talked about how quickly like feelings get disclosed. If they think of you as a soulmate, you know, they call you their soulmate, or say they knew you in a different life. And both of those things happened, some of them even fairly recently. From when we first got together until she told me that she loved me, it was a couple weeks. It was like 2 weeks. And I was surprised, but I mean, I was crazy about her. So feeling crazy about someone and being in love with them, it's not, at least for me, it wasn't that huge a leap. It was like, oh, my thought process was basically this incredible person is in love with me. Awesome. Like, so much better than I would have expected. If she's in love with me, someone who I think is far above me, what's the risk in me loving her? I am lucky. And now when I think about it and I play it back, I think, oh, it's just part of the pattern. The same thing happened with him. They went away on this trip and they came back in love with each other. Huh. Just like me. How many times has that happened before? And how many times will it happen again going forward? And I want to warn him. I want to warn him for 2 reasons. Because I want to make him miserable. And also, it's not fair what she does. You know, he did a crappy thing by getting together with someone who was married. So, karmically, he'll get what he deserves, I hope. But he's also in the midst of something that he probably has no understanding of. And if she follows a pattern similar to me, she might level him. I mean, God, I'm fortunate enough to have this amazing safety net of people who keep me okay. And I'm mega lucky, like incredibly lucky. But his origin story in this relationship, there's not a whole lot of people to catch him if she blows him up. But she's still love bombing him, so we'll see what happens. I'm gonna go upstairs. You ready to go upstairs? We're gonna go upstairs to the dark house and turn on the lights and have an evening. I hope you've had a great day, and yeah, tomorrow will be another work day, but I might do an exciting early drone thing. We shall see. I'm pretty pumped. So I'll see you later. Thanks for hanging out today.